everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. You are attending a math anxiety workshop with Professor Theresa Thomas, who's going to be presenting a little bit about how to help you lessen some anxieties and stressors around math. This is presented in collaboration with the Student Success Center. So we'll get started.
All right. Hello, all. I'm going to share my screen so I can get to my PowerPoint. And whoops, not the right one. Slideshow. There we go, from beginning. There we go. I guess everybody can see that okay. All right. Now, throughout the presentation, you're going to see a lot of cartoons and little things on the sides. Try to, while you're sitting there listening to me, just kind of look at them. They're all very meaningful in what this is kind of support and trying to lessen that math anxiety for you. I'm going to talk about what it is and how you can beat it and give you lots of tools in this presentation to kind of just overcome that math anxiety. But first, which one are you? Okay, are you one maybe that hates math and you just don't want anything to do with it? Or maybe you're not big on reading. I would be the second one. I'm not super big on reading. I like more hands-on, tactile type of things when I'm doing things. But I will read on if it's maybe to improve my teaching and things like that. Of course, I don't hate math. I wouldn't be here today if I hated math. But maybe you're somewhere in between. But usually I'll take a little poll and just kind of, think about which one you are. You hate it, you love it, are you somewhere in between? All right, things that might make you think about some things. There's 5 friends. They're happily eating at Applebee's. It's now time to get the bill. Everyone's cell phones are in the car. They all argue about adding up the tip, dividing up the bill 5 ways. Things like, anyone good at math? Man, I hate math. Math is for nerds. Math is beyond me. There's no point to it. Does this sound familiar to you? Has ever happened to you? Maybe you're sitting at Applebee's with the 5 group friends. Maybe, maybe that's happened to you. Well, look at the other side of the coin on this one. Has this ever happened to you? Same 5 are just seated and handed menus at the same restaurant. The next day, it's in gibberish. None of you can recognize. None of you are able to read the menu. You all begin saying things like, anyone know how to read? I hate reading. Reading is for smart people. I just don't get reading. There's no point to it. Has this ever happened to you? Probably not, unless maybe if you're in another country or the menu's in a different language, maybe you don't understand. But otherwise, you see my point here. Why is it socially acceptable to be bad at math but not at reading? Why is it? Why is this a problem? Okay, because if you look at this paradox little cartoon down here, illiteracy carries social shame. So if you can't read, you don't tell anybody that. You don't say, oh, I can't read. But in numeracy, being mad at math is acceptable. Usually, oh yeah, I hate math too. You usually get the pile on thing, the dog pile thing. Everybody says that. And it's an increasingly quantitative, data-driven world. We're constantly seeing things on TV. And if you don't understand math, you're not going to understand those. Just as my husband and I were talking the other day about how this percent positivity of COVID is really, really a strange phenomenon to me, because I want to know what N is. And what I mean by N is I want to know how many's tested. I have heard it be 10%, 9%, 16%. I understand 16% of the people being tested is, not a good number that are coming up COVID. But when it's down by 9 or 10%, is that number being tested the same? If it's not, it's just something. So if you don't understand those numbers like that, that can be a problem. Just some little jokes here to see. You can see that. How do we fix this problem? Well, we got to figure this math anxiety out. Math anxiety is intense emotional feeling of anxiety. Anxiety in general is any kind of strong emotion you may have towards anything, but math anxiety specifically is about their ability to understand and do mathematics. People who suffer from math anxiety feel that they're incapable of doing activities in classes that involve math. Some math anxious people even have a fear of math. It's called math phobia, and it is a real thing. It is a real thing. So if you've always felt like that, you very well may have it. And does it sound familiar to you? Where does it come from? Well, there's a bunch of myths out here. Men are better in math than women. Of course, I hate this one. No, they're not. It's just, it's been taught that way. So you'll still see in the upper level math courses more men than women. It's just the way it is right now. And we're trying to everything in our power to fix that. So many programs towards females in STEM and things like that. There's not a best way to do a math problem. There's can be several different ways to do a math problem. And I struggle with this because of the new Common Core things in elementary school. They're trying to teach that new way when parents know the old way, when both ways are valid. There's not always one way to do a math problem. Some have a math mind and others don't. I disagree with this. I've worked very hard in my life. I had Algebra 1 in high school and I got a C. So I haven't always been good at math. I took Calculus 1 twice in college just to make sure I could get my head around it and understand it. It's never bad to count on your fingers. That's the first manipulative you were given when you popped out. Those are good at math problems do it in their head quickly. That's not necessarily true. Most of my mistakes are signs and arithmetic. So I always double check my calculations before. Come from poor teachers. Poor teachers may have given you the idea that you'll never be good at math because you couldn't add 2 plus 2. That never came easy to you, or something else didn't come easy to you that maybe came easy to someone else. Poor teachers. Parents. Some parents just, they think, oh, I never had algebra and I'm doing just fine. That's where some of these things come from. Stereotypes, again, math brains and women and men and all those kind of things. Myths, that's here. And there's a wonderful teacher right there screaming at a student. All right, look at this graph here. What does this graph mean to you? Okay, well, it may scare you because it is a little bit of math, but there is no numbers on it. This is just a general little curve that shows you. What about low anxiety? If I have no anxiety at all, where's my test score? Well, it's right here. It's right here. It's low. It's at the very end of my graph there. All right. If I am so terrified about that test, my test score is still going to be, it's not going to be any better than if I was so stressed out about it, I didn't do anything. My anxiety is so high. If I didn't even care, if I walked in there and said, I don't care, I'm going to fail it anyway, into, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail it. Oh, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. Where do you need to live? Well, at this peak up here, you need to have enough anxiety to make you study, but not so much that it tanks your score. So you're going to have to moderation. You got to, have a little bit of anxiety so it makes you worry a little bit, but not so much it takes your score. And some anxiety, yes, is beneficial when you do your test scores. All right. As I'm pulling up these little things here, I would typically ask students if they see one that means something to them, put up a thumbs up in their little reaction thing. Math is my least favorite because I've always had trouble. It's confusing. I don't get it. I'm not very good at it. I have a phobia of numbers unless it's money. I end up getting formulas mixed up. I just don't understand math as I used to. I struggle remembering formulas. It's very difficult for me. If you've ever felt anything, any of those things like that, you are not alone. And that's where you're watching this. So there's others that are watching this and they're the same way. Maybe you have math anxiety. This is coming from a little survey, but here's a bunch of other statements that maybe ring true to you. You become physically agitated when you have to go to math class. So you have stomach cramps or sweating. I know I'm terrified of heights. When I love lighthouses, but I'm terrified of heights. So when I go into those lighthouses, my hands sweat because I know I'm going to be going up in there really high. It just scares me. I just feel like I'm going to fall over the edge. I'm fearful about being asked to go to the board. Okay. In a math class, that's valid. I'm afraid to ask questions because maybe you don't feel like you know enough to formulate a question. I'm always worried about being called on. I understand math now, but I worry it's going to get really hard. I tend to lose my concentration. I fear math tests more than any other kind. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep up with the rest of the class. I don't know how to study for math tests. It's clear to me in math class, but when I go home, it's like I was never there. Now, usually somebody might say, well, if you have 5 of them, you have math anxiety. I would think if you just have one, you can have some kind of level of math anxiety. And that's just for me. If you just have one, there are tools to help you overcome that one. If you feel like every one of those speak to you, I'm going to give you the tools today to figure this out. This is a little video that will help you with math and test anxiety, general tests in tests in general, not just math. So all of these tools that they provide you with in here, there's different categories, and they're going to go through each one. It's nice and simple, and you may want to take notes to kind of jot down what kind of things they talk about in this video. It's only like a 5-minute video.
Math and test anxiety. There are many causes for math and test anxiety. These include a bad experience in your past with math. Most students can pinpoint the first time they became anxious about mathematics to a specific situation. Usually, it was an experience in elementary, middle, or high school. Not enough study time. If you aren't as prepared as you should be for an exam, you will be anxious for it. This is why it's so important you manage your time wisely and study, study, study. Not feeling well prepared. If you've put in the time and studied correctly, go into the exam feeling confident, knowing that you've done the best you could do. Confidence is key. Thinking test scores will measure your intelligence or self-worth. This is not true. You're not stupid or worthless if you fail an exam. It just means you need to change up some of the habits you're doing and get some help from the instructor or a tutor. Reflect on what you need to do differently and take the necessary steps you need to help you succeed. Fear of the clock. Don't let the clock give you anxiety. You do need to manage your time while taking your exam, but don't let the time manage you. There are several common symptoms of math and test anxiety. They include panic, paranoia, nervousness, lack of confidence, your mind going blank, and hopelessness. Luckily, there are some things you can do to overcome math and test anxiety. The best way is to be prepared. Do all of your homework regularly, getting help on problems that you don't understand. Take good notes and make sure you actually review them on a regular basis, not just the night before the exam. Study. Don't just expect to show up to an exam and ace it. You actually need to review and practice the material. Follow the study tips from the How to Study for an Exam video. Form a study group. Working with others will help you gain confidence and make studying more fun. Create a study plan. For tips on how to create your study plan, refer back to the How to Study for an Exam video. And lastly, to be prepared, create a cheat sheet. As you're studying for your exam, have 1 page of paper that you write down things you want to make sure you remember for the exam. For example, if you often forget that when dividing fractions you multiply by the reciprocal, this should go on your cheat sheet. Any important formulas, processes, and definitions should go on there as well. Make sure it's no longer than 1 page though. Review this cheat sheet often the day before and the day of the exam. It should be the last thing you look at before getting your test. However, know that most likely you won't be able to use it while taking the test. A couple of things you can do before an exam to help you overcome math and test anxiety. In your study plan, start studying days before the exam. Cramming everything in one night will not work. The only thing you should be doing the night before, day of the test, is reviewing your cheat sheet. Don't cram the night before. Studies show this will not help you do well in the exam. It isn't enough time to learn all of the material, and you will be in panic mode by that time. This helps bring up anxiety. Get a good night's sleep and eat a good breakfast. This will help make sure your brain is alert and you can stay focused on the exam. Get to class early. The last thing you want is stress that you're running late for an exam. Get there about 15 minutes early and review your cheat sheet as you wait. During the exam, there are several steps you can take. When you first get your exam, flip it over and write down any information in your head that you want to remember for the exam. Usually this is stuff on your cheat sheet. Next, write your name and then scan the exam. Answer the easiest questions first and save the harder ones for last. Read all directions carefully. You don't want to get marked down on a problem because you didn't follow all of the directions. If you go blank, skip the question and go on, but don't forget to go back to it. Put a mark by it to remind yourself you still need to complete that problem. Don't panic when students start handing in papers. There is no prize for being the first person done with an exam. In fact, usually the first people don't get the highest grades. Take your time and make sure you check all of your answers. It's okay to be the last person to hand in your test. If you start to panic, use relaxation techniques. Some relaxation techniques include deep breathing. Take 5 to 10 deep breaths, focusing on filling up your lungs as you inhale and slowly releasing the air out as you exhale. This helps get oxygen to your brain and for you to focus on something other than the exam. Other techniques include closing your eyes and thinking of a happy, relaxing place for a few minutes. This will help you suppress your adrenaline and calm your nerves. Stretch. This will help keep your blood flowing. Just make sure you don't distract others around you as you do it. Math and test anxiety. You can overcome this. You can do it.
All right. You'll hear a lot of those little tips throughout my presentation because repetitiveness is the key, and hopefully you'll remember some. And again, you might want to take notes on some of these things. All right. How can you beat it? Henry. Okay. Deal with it early. All right. So as soon as the first day, you know math is a problem for you. So as soon as you start to fall off, do some of these things I'm going to talk about and get it under control before it gets out of control and becomes a big snowball. Make sure you're placed correctly. If the first day you are so lost that you don't even know where to start, meet with the instructor and make sure you're in the correct place and you're not placed too high in a math course. Be an active learner. In other words, if the instructor is putting problems on the board, and wants input from the class, put your hand up, give some answers, ask questions, things like that, and take notes. If you're more of a passive, take notes, write every step down, things like that. Do your homework. Big, big, big. If you can't, you're not going to learn anything if you do homework. Homework is not just busy work we assign. You have to do your homework. If you don't do your homework, you're not going to learn the material. Don't compare yourself to the smartest person in the classroom. There's always going to be that one, that Sheldon, right? That sticks their hand up for everything. Oh, you were like, will you just be quiet? Yes. Do not compare yourself to the rocket scientist in the classroom. Never do that. Show all your steps, because if you're not showing all your steps, you can't go back and say, oh, I missed a sign here. I missed a number here. I forgot to divide both sides by this. You can't see everything if you don't. Just keep it in perspective. Math is just a tool of where you're going to go. School resources, we have disability coordinators, advisors, the cave, all kinds of things that are resources for you to use to help you get through math. And debunk those myths. If you had a teacher tell you you'll never be good at math, take that as a charge. Yes, I will. I'm going to make it. Do not procrastinate. It will snowball. A lot of instructors give one due date for the whole course, especially in this Zoom world we're in right now. They give one due date at the end of the semester. You have to have everything done by. Do not think you can do it in a month. There's a reason why it's 16 weeks long. Do it bit by bit as suggested due dates allow, or make your own schedule. If the instructor just said, oh, it's all due at the end of the semester, make your own schedule, do it bit by bit. What else can you do? All right, some things you can do when you're selecting a math class. Huge, huge. Optimum time for you. I have Garfield over here because Garfield doesn't do mornings. He doesn't do Mondays. He doesn't do mornings. Well, if you're one that is not the sharpest at 8 a.m. in the morning, do not think, oh, I'm going to push through and get it over with at 8 a.m. in the morning on a Monday or a Tuesday, and I'm going to be okay. You're not going to be okay. You want to do it at the most optimum time. Pick the best instructor for you, not the best instructor. If you go to, what is it? Right, your professor. A lot of instructors get angry because I talk about Rate My Professor in here because they don't want you shopping for an instructor. But I'm not saying go in there and look for, she gives a lot of homework, things like that. You're going in looking for, she was very helpful when I had trouble. She never made me feel dumb. Those kind of things is what you're going to look for. Word of mouth is vital also. If you have a friend that's already at Blue Ridge taking a math course or two, see who they had. Maybe that instructor worked for them, but ask them questions like, what's their homework policy? Can I see the syllabus? There's nothing wrong with, especially if math is your weak point, there's nothing wrong with researching it before you get the best instructor for you. Schedule. If you prefer to do math 1 day a week, which preferring and needing could be two different things, you may do better with 1 day a week, 2 day a week, or 3 day a week schedule. So most of our classes at Blue Ridge are 2 days a week, but that doesn't mean you only do math on those 2 days. You want to do it every day. But if you're more likely to do it every day, if you have it, say, Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday, don't take it just 1 day a week, knowing that you're just going to do the homework for Wednesday during the day on Wednesday before I have class on Wednesday night. That's not going to work for you. You're going to need to do it every day. So schedule whatever works best for you. When I say no gaps, I don't mean like in your schedule. I mean like if you took, say, pre-calc in high school, your senior year, and you need calculus or pre-calculus 2, don't wait 2 years and take it your last semester at Blue Ridge. Do not. You will forget everything you learned in that pre-calculus class, especially if you struggle, you're going to remember less. So do not gap them. I made my own children take a year of math, or a math course every single year starting in 9th grade. 9th grade to senior year, I made them take a math course every year. I would not let them load up and take them all their junior and senior, or their freshman and sophomore years, so they didn't have to take any, because I knew they'd forget by the time they got to college. Correct level, this is what we mentioned already. Make sure you're placed in the correct level. If you're in there the first day and you're completely lost, it's like the teacher's talking Greek, then maybe you're not in the correct level and you need to meet with that instructor and or an advisor to make sure you're in the correct level. What else can you do? All right, when you are studying math, there's certain things you can do every day, even if it's just 5 problems every day. Even if you're all caught up on your homework, do some more problems every day. This is a weak point for you. If you don't do it every day, it's not going to stick in your brain. I have so many students that will come, they've done all their homework for Monday. They'll do it all for Wednesday. They won't look at it again until Sunday night when I have class on Monday morning. Then they're in my office Monday morning before class going, I don't remember how to do any of this. Some students don't have a sticky brain. That's what I call it, a sticky brain. And it doesn't want to stick if you're not doing it every day. And remember, math is a weak point for you, so you want to do it every day. Don't delay. You want to start on that homework as soon as that class is over, and then do a little bit the next day and the next day until you have class again. Do not delay. Specific time, set a specific time, 1 to 2 every Monday and Wednesday. That's my math homework time. You want to do that. You want to set up a specific time. Specific place, and I'm going to do this one too. Maybe a place you can get help. If your professor has office hours like I do, I get very lonely in my office hours, even more now on my Zoom because I'm at home. But even if you're just logged into her Zoom office hours or my office hours or your instructor's office hours, just have them sitting there with you. So if you're stuck, you can go, hey, I need help. I also have tutors in my classroom that have their own student hours that you can log into. When we get back onto campus, outside of my office, I had a little pseudo math tutoring center with student tutors, professors, myself, that you can get help. So in a place you can get help. Stay up to date. Do not fall behind on your course schedule. If there's suggested due dates, make sure you hit them. In addition to the hard due dates. If there isn't any, you want to make yourself a plan to get through the course yourself. 8 to 10 hours a week. Yes, I'll say it again, 8 to 10 hours a week. Do not minimize that. If you're not spending that much time on a math course and you're struggling, that's why. You're not spending enough time on this math course. And then I have the cave here, of course, I have the cave here. And then this is my little procrastinating thing. Okay, do not procrastinate, huge. All right, what else can you do? Okay, what was that one? That was studying math. We've done studying math, what we do before. We did selecting, studying. Okay, what else? This is now study strategies. This is the longest one. This is huge. A lot of students come to me, I don't see any notes, I don't see any homework, I don't see anything, and they're just lost. Well, have you done anything to help yourself? Well, have you read your textbook? Well, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't matter. You can at least jot down the examples and try to follow through the examples in some kind of notes. Take notes when you're reading that textbook. Take notes when your instructor lectures or does things in class. Copy all the steps, every step, even if you think you know where it came from and you'll think you'll remember it later. Maybe not. Use the instructor or tutors. Like I said, I get very lonely during my student hours. My tutors get lonely too. They're getting paid for nothing some days. What confused you? Don't come in and say everything confuses me. I need a specific question. I don't understand where the vertical asymptote comes from. That's a good question. I don't understand how 2x equals 3 and how x equals 3 halves. I don't understand that. What confused you? Review your notes. I take notes on stuff. Even me doing math courses now, maybe that I haven't taught in a while. I take notes on my PowerPoint and then I use my notes to do my homework. Review your notes. The more you look at those notes, the more second nature they're going to be. Work problems until you understand. So don't just think, oh, I just got through that problem. I got it right. Pick another one that's similar until you understand. Flashcards, that's what these are here. Colors, they have colors. Get your markers out. Put your formulas on them. Put any kind of vocabulary that maybe your instructor's using that you don't understand what that vocabulary word means. Like I used one today, asymptote. Maybe you don't remember what that is. Yeah, that might be something you need to put on a flashcard. Memory techniques. All right, that's where the flashcards come in. But you know, looking at it and shuffling them and looking and things like that, just to try to improve your memory. What else can you do? Okay, that was study skills. Now, what are we going to do when the rubber hits the road and I got to take a test? Preview that test as soon as you get it in your hand, just like the little video said. You want to look at it, scan it. See, okay. And don't start breathing heavy when you start looking through the test. Say, oh, okay, this doesn't look too bad. Formulas, jot them down on the back because you've just looked at your cheat sheet that you can't use on the test. You want to flip it over and write down those formulas you might need. Easy questions first. This will build your confidence and then also get you the hang of the test, the pacing of the test. Then you'll be able to have more confidence and go back and finish those hard ones. Use the full amount of time. Don't compare yourself. Somebody turned it in 10 minutes. Well, they probably didn't know anything. Think that. Do not think, oh, they're going to get an A. That's not usually the way it works. Ignore that clock. Don't sit there and say, oh, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No, you're going to really sabotage yourself if you stare at that clock. I used to put the time left on the board, but then I realized that was actually hurting my students than helping them. So check or rework as time allows. So after you've finished it all, you've done as well as you think you can, go back and check the ones you maybe were unsure of or rework them. If you're like, I got a negative for this distance. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Let me see what I can do with that one. When you get your test back, take note of the types of mistakes you made. Did you completely miss the point of the problem? Did you miss a sign? Did you divide by a number that wasn't legal? Any of those things, log those mistakes. They could be big, they could be small, but you may find they're just small. You might find that you weren't as prepared that you could have been. What else can you do? All right. I love cats, as you probably saw Henry walking through here. I love this little thing, believe in yourself. He's looking in the reflection there and he sees a big tiger. You gotta believe in yourself. Beat that anxiety. If you don't believe you can do it, no amount of me telling you what to do here is going to help you. You've got to believe that, darn it, you can do this math. Study partners. You're going to find that study partners are going to be very vital in these courses. You're going to find somebody else in there that maybe is just as unsure as you are, or maybe just a little bit better, but is willing maybe to help you. That only helps them, because the more they teach others, the more they learn it themselves. Or maybe you are good on this subject, or this topic, but not so much on the other, so you can help. That will only strengthen your skills in that certain topic. And then that other person can help you with what you're struggling with. Make up practice tests for each other. Their textbooks in math are great, and My Math Lab and whatever kind of system that you're using in your math course. Practice tests are out the wazoo. I think sometimes that you can even make one yourself, and it'll have the answers and everything there for you so you can practice. Relaxation techniques. That's what they talked about at the end there. Deep breathing, go to a happy place, stretch. Don't just sit still for hours on end trying to do math. I always tell my students, if you're going to do it for 3 hours, you better be taking breaks, because even if I do it for 3 hours, I start to make really dumb mistakes. You will too. You just get exhausted. And above all else, failure is not final. That's not it. You're just learning. Okay, just remember that. It's not the end of the world if you fail. You're just learning. All right, hopefully I've given you enough skills or enough tips here that you can make a plan. You can, hopefully you took notes. Math mistakes allow thinking to happen. A goal without a plan is just a wish. This one down here with the bicycle, isn't that true? Real life really does look like the hills and valleys. Then, all right. So hopefully you have a plan together. And this little video here is going to show you some breathing. It's called Quick Calm. And he's going to talk you, it's like 2 minutes. He's going to talk you through a breathing technique that helps at any time, whether you're sitting in traffic, whether you're getting ready to yell at your kid, whether you're getting mad at your dog. If you just take 2 minutes and do this breathing technique, it will calm you down.
Quick Calm is a deep breathing exercise designed to calm you down quickly during or after suddenly stressful events, such as presentations, arguments, panic episodes, exams, and traffic jams. Quick Calm can also rapidly restore focus and concentration. When I count to 3, I'd like you to take a deep breath in and hold the breath for about 3 or 4 seconds. And while you're holding the breath, think to yourself, I am warm. And then I'll ask you to exhale and think, I am calm. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold and think, I am warm. And exhale. Think, I am calm. The reason we believe that Quick Calm works to reduce stress is that when you take a deep breath in, your diaphragm stimulates the nerve in your neck called the vagus nerve. It runs from your chin down to your heart. And when the vagus nerve is stimulated, it sprays chemicals, hormones onto your heart. It tells your heart to slow down. When heart rate decreases, breathing rate decreases, sweating goes down, muscle tension lessens, and you feel better. Doing 3 or 4 repetitions of this breathing and relaxing technique will help you to calm down quickly.
Okay. All right. And usually, if I had enough students, what kind of takeaways have you taken away, maybe learned from here today? But maybe you learned something about the causes of math anxiety, maybe about the symptoms that you can panic before a test. Maybe you've learned something on how to overcome these panic and paranoia and things like that. Maybe you learned on how before a test you maybe want to start studying days before. Maybe you didn't think about that before. You want to remember not to cram. That doesn't help anybody. Make sure you get enough sleep and you eat breakfast before that test. You want to get there early. Maybe for during the test, you learn not to watch that clock. Or you've learned maybe some relaxation techniques today. This is my last slide. Come see me. Hopefully in my office in the fall. we'll be back in person. But this is my family here. This is my daughter Morgan and my son Brandon when he graduated from Blue Ridge. I got to give him his degree, which was really cool. I was associate dean that semester. And the creepy guy back there is my husband. He's not real big on pictures, so he kind of hid back there. But come see me, call me, email me. Once my student, always my student. Now you've been my student for the last hour. Hopefully I will see you or interact with you in the future. Thank you.